Hello and welcome to a new video. I thought since we are doing a November one-take wrap-up, I would do it in front of the Christmas tree because why not? And I love the Christmas tree. So in case you've never watched one of my videos before, every month when I do my wrap-up videos, I do something I call a one-take wrap-up because I hate editing videos. So I'm going to tell you all the books that I read in the month with no editing and cutting and all of that because I find it incredibly tedious. That's the word. So first off, let's just get into the books that I read in the month of November. I read this Spider-Woman. Apparently I'm just showing you what I read. Usually I put it up on the screen and it's not focusing. Hello, focus, phone, camera. Oh well. Anyway, I read a Spider-Woman comic. This is volume 1. It's called Baby Talk. It is by Dennis Hopeless. Javier Rodriguez does the arting, that's not a word, the coloring, and Alvaro Lopez is an inker. I'm guessing that's the black draw, like outlines, and then he goes in and colors. Anyway, regardless, I adored this Spider-Woman comic. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. So this is Jessica Drew. She is a comic, or she is a version of Spider-Woman that is, in my head, she's like the original Spider-Woman. Like, she comes before Gwen Stacy and everything, but I don't know exactly how long her character has kind of existed. But she was the first Spider-Woman that I was introduced to, and I really, really love her. And I've read her like pop up in a lot of other comics, but I had never read one of just her, and I adore her. And this is kind of a re-jump. There's some volumes before this, but they restarted this series, and told this really, really interesting story in that Jessica Drew was pregnant and she was still crime fighting, doing her thing. She's kind of more, she quits the Avengers before this and decides to be more friendly neighborhood Spider-Man type. And I just really, really, really love her character, and I love what she does in the story, and I love that she's pregnant, and I love that she's crime fighting. And this is kind of the beginning of everyone's trying to guess like who the dad is, all this stuff, and she doesn't say anything. She's best friends with Captain Marvel in this version of the story, and they have a lot of really good banter, really good like arguments and conversations, and yeah, so I really, really love that. Next, I read Spider-Woman Volume 2, Civil War, which is the continuation of this story. There's only 3 volumes in this series, and I actually just bought them all on eBay because I genuinely loved them that much. So Volume 2, maybe I'll just start showing the covers on here so that's even less editing that I have to do. That would actually be really smart of me. I think I will do that. Anyway, so Civil War 2, kind of a play off of that. She was a big character in the Civil War comic series that happened more recently, not necessarily the one that the movie is based off of. This is the one, I read most of it from Miles's point of view. I haven't read a lot of the other stories. I read a little bit of Thor's, but anyway, this has to do with a civil war between, it's kind of it's a play on words. So it's mostly Jessica Drew and Captain Marvel arguing in like a hilarious way. It's sad, but it's kind of hilarious. They're kind of just meddling in each other's lives, and they get sick of it, and they're arguing, and blah, blah, blah. But she is agreeing to like play along. She goes up to this like space station hospital thing that Captain Marvel got her a spot at. She's like, well, maybe we're fighting and all of this, but at least check out this hospital, see if it's where you want to deliver your baby. And so she goes for a tour, and the hospital gets taken over by Skrull or Kree. I don't know what it is with me not being able to tell those two species apart, but one of those. And so 9-month pregnant Spider-Woman has to fight against them and save the hospital, and also has her baby. So that was a really fun one. Next, I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, which was not at all what I expected it to be, but I did refocus. I did have a lot of fun reading it. So I fully acknowledge that the subtitle after the title is "'Tis the Season" or "It's the Season to Fall in Love." But I didn't read that, and I didn't read the summary before going into this. I saw the cover and the title and assumed it was a cozy mystery. Because, I mean, the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, how is that not a cozy mystery title? And like, this cover is a cozy mystery cover, and you can't tell me otherwise. But it's not. It's actually a romance. It was very, very sweet. I really liked the characters. I liked them having to learn to trust each other, and like really kind of open up to each other. I thought it was really, really sweet. I loved the town. I loved all the characters kind of playing in the town, and like coming together, and all of the like autumnal like events and sweetness. It was very Hallmark but spicy. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 stars. It was a fun read. Next, I read Lore Olympus Volume 3 by Rachel Smith. I have yet to look up how to pronounce that. Focus back on me, camera. I really enjoyed this one. I haven't read Volume 4 yet, I don't think, because I haven't gotten that one yet, but I really like this series. I talked about it a lot last month, I think, in how it's a really fun like play on the world, and like it kind of modernizes it in a lot of ways. The art is really beautiful, and I said this last month too, but like it's so weird to me that we're going into, look, my cat is so desperate for attention. She does not appreciate the wrap up. She doesn't care what I read in the month of November. But I said this last month, where I went into this series kind of like, I just assumed Hades and Persephone would already be together, and they're not. So it's kind of weird, but also really interesting to like get into reading it. Trigger warning for sexual assault in this series, and that's like repeatedly referenced. But otherwise, I'm having a lot of fun. It's really well written. I'm very excited to move on in this series. I need to buy Volume 4 still. Next, I read Kissing Kosher by Jean Meltzer. I did enjoy this one. It does not like focusing on my phone. Maybe if I put it in front of my face. There we go. I can't sit up on my knees anymore. My legs are falling asleep. Can you just pretend that I'm tall enough to be in the view of the camera? Anyway, I read Kissing Kosher by Jean Meltzer. Okay, so again, this is on me because I did not read the summary of the book. I just picked it based on the cover and that I'd read this author before. I assumed this was another holiday read because the last book Jean Meltzer wrote, or that I read of hers anyway, it was a Hanukkah book, so I just assumed this was also a Hanukkah book. It's not. It isn't that, like, it passes over like 6 months of time, and I don't think any of it is even in the holiday season. But like also the color of the cover made me think it was like Hanukkah themed, but it's not. It has nothing to do with the holidays, which had been the only reason I really picked it up, so that's whatever. I didn't completely hate it, but I definitely didn't love it. I read it via audiobook, and it took me a really, really long time, and part of me was like, I kept forgetting that I was reading it, which is not a great sign. I really liked the chronic illness representation, and I would recommend it just based off of that, because I actually learned a lot. I've had patients with interstitial cystitis, but never really thought past that because it wasn't relevant to the clinical picture, you know, of why they were in the hospital. But then again, you know, with a chronic illness, it should always be relevant, but I have a lot of patients and I'm just trying to keep everyone alive. So, but I learned a lot about the disease through this book and through the character, and just like chronic pain in general, which I think that was really, really well written. I don't know a lot about this author. I'm assuming this is Own Voices just because she seems like she has such like a deep understanding of this and everything, but I actually don't know. So I don't like how short I am in the frame, but my legs are falling asleep sitting on my knees, but this looks so much better. Anyway, but yeah, I did like that portion of the story. I just didn't like the plot. Like, I liked the characters, but I didn't like the plot. And when I say I didn't like the plot, that's because there wasn't enough of a plot. Like, yes, he was lying about who he was and trying to steal the family recipe and blah, blah, blah. And like that overarching plot was there, but the actual details, like nothing happened. Nothing happened for like 60% of the book. And I was just bored, so I struggled with it. I think I still gave it a 3 stars, and I stand by that. It was not a bad book, it just wasn't a very great book. Does that make sense? Anyway, next I read Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood, which is her new YA release. I've read everything Ali Hazelwood has written, so obviously I keep coming back. But sometimes I do agree that you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt and like kind of know what you're getting into. Like, I am not usually put off by cheesy romances. Like, I am totally here for it. I genuinely enjoy like every Hallmark movie I watch, like not in a funny, like ironic way, like I just like them. But there's sometimes, for me, okay, here's the difference. There's like cheesy and there's like millennial cheesy, and that's where Ali Hazelwood lives, and that's okay. And sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's tolerable. This one was really great, and part of it was I think maybe the characters are younger, because they were younger. They were like 18 or 20 or something. So I would put it more new adult than young adult, but it was like fairly clean-ish, not as, you know, spicy as her other books. But the like millennial cringe humor wasn't in there, so that was fun for me. There were no galaxy print leggings, so that was really good. That was a win in my book. So overall, I really loved this. I listened to it on audiobook on Spotify, because that's a thing now, which honestly though didn't make a whole lot of sense because you can't like bookmark. So anyway, but I really enjoyed these characters. They were chess rivals. I don't know one single thing about chess. You know what I know about chess? They play it at the end of Sorcerer's Stone. That's all I got. That is all I got. I have no clue how to play that game and don't really care to, frankly. But it was really interesting, the competition aspect, and like how he just was more and more interested because of the way she played the game, which made for a really interesting dynamic between the two of them, and I loved it. And I loved the epilogue. I thought it was really sweet. So, next, I read The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. This was my book club pick. I have a book club on Instagram, and I feel really bad. I made everybody read this book because I hated it. And I gave it a 2 stars on Goodreads, but honestly, I think that's really generous. I don't even know where to begin. I spoke a lot about it in my reading vlogs as I was reading it. But like I really didn't like it. So there are portions that I don't despise, but like I don't know, it just wasn't very good. The main character really ruined it for me. The premise of the story, in theory, I really like, because it is about a girl who is trying to infiltrate the castle so she can marry the king and so she can assassinate the king. Interesting. My issue was she never said why. She had no reason for anything she did, no motivation. She just did it to do it. And she was very like, girl boss, slay, I'm evil, I'm mysterious. And she was all this like telling of what I am, but she never once showed. She was just a caricature, and I just really struggled. The king character, Callias, I did actually enjoy towards the end, but overall, the quality of writing, and I think we all are well aware, I am not a super critical reader. I am just here for the vibes. But this one, the vibes were not it. The writing was so bad. I really struggled. Which is crazy because I really enjoyed Daughter of a Pirate King. Like, I thought that was a good book. Was it like phenomenal, top 10 favorite books of all time? No. But like, it was a good, well-written book, and then this was just, it was just weird, and it was not my vibe. Lastly, the last book I read in November is Lizzie Blake's Best Mistake by Maisie Eddings. I really enjoyed this. This was a romance book. I've got to sit down again. I'm sitting like up on my knees, you know, and my feet are falling asleep because I'm trying to be in the frame, because why would I get a tripod when I could just set my camera on random things in my house, even though I'm not tall enough for them. Anyway, so you're currently sitting on my record player. But anyway, I read Lizzie Blake's Best Mistake. It was a really, really fun book. I really enjoyed it. It followed Lizzie Blake, who has ADHD, and I thought the representation was written so well, so interestingly in the series, or in the book. And Lizzie Blake is someone who's like hopped from job to job, doesn't really have any specific direction in her life, and has not been managing her ADHD very well. And she meets this guy, Rake, who I think is such a hilarious name, and all the jokes about like historical romance rakes was so good. And they hook up one night, and she ends up pregnant, and she contacts him. He moves back from Australia, which was kind of a funny dynamic to add into that. And they decide to like co-parent and everything, and obviously slowly fall in love. So it was really, really good. The family dynamics on her end were really well written, really interesting. Her parents sucked. I really hated them. But that means that they were well written, because you're supposed to hate them. I just don't understand what their issue was. Like, could they just chill the F out? Like, I just didn't get it. I mean, I got it because those people for sure exist, but it was really hard to read. I was like, I've never met like people like that really in my life, so it was hard. But yeah, then they, you know, they're just falling in love and all this. So my only critique of the book, and I said this in my reading vlog, I'm vlogging a lot because of Vlogmas. And I had this issue here. So I love the surprise pregnancy trope. That is a well-known fact about me. And usually the later months of the pregnancy are my favorite parts in the book. And this book very much skipped over that. I think the like climax of the book happens when she's like 20 something weeks pregnant, and then it jumps to the epilogue and she's already had the baby. And so like I felt like I kind of missed out on all the really good parts, like all my favorite parts. And especially like I've always loved like the going into labor scene and all of that. I think it's always really fun to read, and this skipped over all of that. So that would be my only complaint, but I still give it 5 stars. So that is my November wrap up. I will not be doing a December wrap up because I will see you for my 2023, all the books I read in the year, and my Goodreads like wrap up video and all of the stats and blah 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 blah. I have 10 books to read in 3 weeks to make my Goodreads goal. So good luck to me. I should probably read some more comic books. Yeah, I should probably just be reading comic books at this point, actually. I should probably just completely give up on what I'm reading and switch to only comics. But I don't know what comics to read. We'll find out. We'll find out. But anyway, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I am trying to upload as much of Vlogmas content as I can. I believe this video will kind of just go up today or whenever I connect my camera to my computer. There's some other, I've got reading vlogs coming up. I've got some ideas that we'll see if I actually initiate them. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!